Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When Allah created man, He placed within man the entire universe. He placed within man all of the various entities that exist within the world, all of the various animals, insects, snakes that exist within the world. Each of these animalistic qualities has a different temperament and a different attitude towards existence. Now, within us, we have an innate wisdom. This wisdom rises within us to match the intention of our attitude, to match the intention of the form that we take on, to match the intention of the qualities that we assume. So, if we take on the qualities of a bull, we will develop bull wisdom, and we will act in accordance with those qualities. If we take on the qualities of a snake, we will develop snake wisdom and take on the qualities of the snake and become adept at it, and so on through the animal kingdom. Lions, tigers, bears, penguins. However, if we want to become man, true man, then we have to enter into human wisdom, human reasoning, human understanding. And to understand how this works and how to allow true wisdom to enter into your being and to become truly wise, we have to understand a little bit about consciousness. Consciousness comes out with sense, awareness, and intellect, which means the ability to comprehend through our senses that which we encounter, to be aware of them, and then intellectually to use what we have become aware of towards a specific goal, towards a specific end. Animals have these three levels of consciousness, and animals are capable of being aware of their surroundings, sensing what it is that they need, and intellectually coming up with methodologies in order to accomplish what it is that they want. Lions learn how to hunt. Gazelles eat grass but learn how to run from lions. All of the animals have within them inherent capabilities and an inherent wisdom that allows them to live as who they are. The interesting thing about man is that he can choose between many different levels and forms of reasoning and of wisdom. And depending what he chooses, that sets forth the trajectory for his lifestyle. That sets forth who he will become and who he will be. Now, to break through the animal torpor that we are all in at the lower levels of wisdom. The fourth level of reasoning or judgment is called discrimination. Sometime in our lives, there has to come a situation where we determine that the level of wisdom that we're at, the level of interaction with the world that we are at, is lacking. Something's missing. Something is not as it should be. There is no satisfaction. Now, some people never get to this point. Somehow, living their bull life or their lion life or their snake life keeps them satisfied, and they don't go beyond it. Some people, something happens to them, and they begin to realize that there's more to existence than what the world has to offer. A man was on a camel in the desert, and he got lost. And off in the distance, he saw an oasis, and he wasn't sure if it was truly an oasis or if it was a mirage. And since he was in a pretty desperate situation, he decided to go anyway and see what it was. And when he got there, in fact, it was an oasis, and there was water, and he drank his fill. And when he was satisfied with the amount of water he drank, he realized he was now very, very hungry. So he started looking around the oasis to see if there was anything to eat. And he saw a large bag behind a palm tree. And he ran to the bag thinking it would be full of rice or wheat or something that he could eat. And he took the bag, lifted it up and turned it upside down and poured out what was in it. And you can imagine his disappointment when he found it was full of pearls. The rewards of the world aren't necessarily going to answer the questions of the hunger inside of you to know more than what you presently know, to become involved in more than what you are presently involved in, to take you to a place beyond the limitations of the animal qualities. So the question really comes up, and it comes up often: what is wisdom, and what is it that we have to do in order to gain wisdom? What's the process? How do we do it? How do we gain wisdom? It begins by recognizing our state. It begins with a deep analysis of who we are, what we are, how we act, and how we interact with other people. And it takes a level of extreme honesty with ourselves. In our interaction with other people, what are the qualities that come from within us? What are the qualities that are involved in our life that we use in our life? Are we egocentric? Do we live in a bubble where we believe we are the only person of importance in all of existence, the only person with original thought in all of existence, the only person with ideas that are worthwhile? Or do we have empathy towards other people? Can we feel other people? Can we begin to understand other people? We either stay in the torpor of the animalistic qualities and hold ourselves in these animalistic qualities, or we move beyond them. Now, what are these animalistic qualities? Well, they're the qualities that are satanic in nature. They're not godly. They're not advanced qualities. They're not saintly qualities. They're not divine qualities. They're qualities like egoism, like suffering, like illusion, like lust, anger, miserliness, delusion, dislike for others, religious intolerance, religious fanaticism, ignorance, getting drunk, intoxication, murder, thievery. All of these kinds of ideals keep us from understanding truth. And why is that? What is it about these things specifically that keeps you from understanding truth? What's the tie-in with these various things that holds you back? Wisdom is a transcendent state. Wisdom is a state that has gone beyond the illusory nature of the world and is no longer attached to it. But look at these qualities that I mentioned. Each one of them is tied to illusion. Egoism is tied to the illusion, the great lie that you are all that exists and that you are all that's important. Suffering is tied to illusion because your state of mind, your state of being, your state of joy or sadness is tied in to what you can reap from this illusory world. And if you get what you want, you have happiness for a while, but as it fades, you begin to suffer because you don't have it. Lust is this constant need for somehow fulfilling various desires within the illusory world. Anger comes up in you when you don't get what you want in this illusory world. Every one of these qualities that I mentioned is tied to your interaction with the illusory world and the nature of that emotional entanglement. There's a story from the Native American culture in America, and it says that within each of us, there are two wolves. One wolf is constantly angry, constantly looking to satisfy its hunger, constantly egocentric, trying to fulfill all of its own needs. And there's another wolf who is in a state of compassion and mercy and justice. And these two wolves are constantly fighting. And then the question comes, which one of these wolves wins? And the answer is the one that you feed. So we make that decision. How are we involved with the various qualities that are available to us? And we should understand that there are available to us almost every quality imaginable. Millions of qualities are available to us. Millions of animalistic lifestyles are available to us. What do we choose. And how do we choose? Do we come to a conclusion as to what's right for us and what's wrong for us? Or do we just automatically react to everything that happens to us in the world as if it were real and as if it were something we had to personally resolve, no matter how we go about doing it? For somebody to get to the state of murdering somebody, someone has absolutely no regard for what's right or wrong. For someone to steal, it's a lesser situation, but they've also lost regard for what's right and wrong. For somebody who lies, they've lost regard for what's right or wrong. They've given up human dignity and replaced it with animal qualities. Now, what's more important to each of us? Is it to become human or to maintain a relationship with the illusory world where we believe we are somehow conquering it? We are somehow taking care of it. We are somehow making it adjust to our needs. If we spend our life trying to conquer the illusory world, we will stay at the lower levels of wisdom, and there's no way to escape. The only way to escape is to conclude that there's more to existence than this animal lifestyle, that other things are available to us, and that we can rise to higher and higher levels of reason, higher levels of wisdom, higher levels of understanding. And this happens to us when we are able to see the transcendent nature of those higher levels. When somebody holds a baby and feels compassion towards that child, all of a sudden something changes within that person. That relationship towards that baby becomes a relationship of love, becomes a relationship wherein the person can give towards that child. So the usual reaction to other people in the animal understanding of things, what's it going to do for me? How's it going to help me? What do I get from it? Begins to change to I need to help this helpless child. And it comes naturally. When we begin to get those kinds of inclinations, when we begin to get inclinations where we need to act on behalf of others, when we get an inclination to help others in their situations, where we feel compassion and mercy for others, when all of a sudden justice becomes important as opposed to our own needs, these inclinations are what's going to take us out of the torpor of being involved in animal qualities. These inclinations are what is going to allow us to rise and become higher than we were in the level of wisdom. Wisdom is a transcendent experience. It's a divine experience. It happens when we begin to detach from our needs within the world. As long as our needs within the world are great, it's very difficult to go beyond them. As long as our needs within the world force us to do things to fulfill those needs, it's very difficult to move on beyond those needs. Wisdom is to be able to act beyond those needs. Wisdom is being able to act beyond those attachments. Wisdom is being able to act beyond your own self-interest. So we have to take a view of ourselves and understand that the things that we are doing in order to maintain our worldly lifestyle, our worldly being, are not the most important things in existence. And until we come to that conclusion, we're not going to move forward. Now, we all believe that there is a supreme being. We all believe in God, or we wouldn't be here. The question is, how strongly do we believe in God? Bible calls this faith, certitude, and determination. So how certain are we that Allah is with us at every moment? How certain are we that Allah will resolve our dilemmas? How certain are we that things will turn out for us in an appropriate manner in the way they're supposed to be? How certain are we? And we can tell this by the level of fear that we have, by the level of doubt that we have, by the level of uncertainty that we have. So to move into wisdom, we have to move away from doubt, and we have to move away from fear. If we don't do this, we are not going to be able to move into reality. And we need to understand that this illusory world is not real. Reality is beyond the nature of this illusory world and beyond our attachment to the illusory world. So there is this turning point, this pivot that occurs when we enter into reasoning about the nature of our existence. And when we choose to align ourselves with that which is divine, as opposed to aligning ourselves with that which is temporary. Jesus had a group of followers, and he was wandering through various deserts, and they said to him, "We should build you a house, and it'll be easier for you to carry on with what it is that you have to do. It'll be easier for you to do your work." And he took them to a river, and he pointed to the middle of the river and said, "Build a house for me there." And they said, "Well, that's impossible. How can we build a house for you in the middle of the river?" And he said, "Well, what you need to understand is this world is a bridge. It's for moving across. It's not for building houses in." And this is what happens to us. We become fixated on the permanent nature, or at least the belief that there is a permanent nature to this existence. We become fixated on the thought that this life isn't going to end, and that we have to keep supplying things for this existence. Only when we actually come to grips with the nature of our life can we come to grips with the torpor that holds us in place and doesn't allow us to move forward. On television, when you're watching a show, whatever it is, prior to commercial, they always have a hook, like you have to wait until after the commercial to find out what happens. And that's how they keep you watching. They don't tell you what's next. They hold you there for a little while so you'll sit through the commercial. Can you turn off the TV and say, I don't care? You're not going to catch me. You can't hold me in place. I don't care. And this is where we have to get to with the world. We have to not listen to everything that the world yells at us. We have to not listen to everything that the world tells us, and we have to stop giving it credence. There was a competition where different men were trying to climb this immensely huge tower. And thousands of people came to watch the people climbing the tower. And it looked impossible to the people watching. And as the men were climbing, everybody was screaming, it can't be done. It's impossible. You can't do it. And one by one, the men who were trying to climb the tower gave up and came down. One finally reached the top. And when he came down, the reporters came to ask him, how did he do it? And they found out that he was deaf. He didn't hear all the negativity. He wasn't aware of it. We have to create an insular place for ourselves where the negativity of the world won't attack us, where we are satisfied with our situation in the world and we're not beholden to it for our joy and for our happiness. So many people, if they don't get what they want within this realm of illusion, become depressed, become sad, lose their will, and begin to suffer, become terribly, their life becomes terribly difficult. If we're not beholden to the rewards of this world, then we won't react to the rewards of this world, whether we get them or whether we don't get them. This takes discipline, and this takes a deep analysis of our existence and how things work. And if we're not willing to do that analysis and move forward, we're not going to get the wisdom that is commensurate to the intention of transcending illusion. The wisdom that is inherent within us joins our intention and takes us, lifts us to that intention, or brings us down to that intention. So if we have the intentions of a snake, we're going to get the wisdom of a snake. If we have the intentions of a scorpion, we're going to get the wisdom of a scorpion. If we have the intentions of a human, we are going to become human. And to become human, our intentions have to interact with divine qualities. To become human, we have to become aware of divine qualities. We have to be able to touch the divine. Why? Do we kiss the hand of the sheikh so that we can touch divinity, so that we can come close to divinity, so that we can understand divinity? Each of us at some time is going to have a catharsis. And within that catharsis, we're going to say, all of this is worthless. I need to turn to what's real. Well, we need to have that catharsis sooner as opposed to later. We need to have that happen to us now, if it hasn't happened already. And if it has happened, we have to stay resolute in that intention. And we have to believe that if we stay resolute within that intention, the wisdom that will hold us in place, that will allow us to know, that will open up the book of mysteries for us, will happen to us, will be shown to us. Each of us has had situations in our lives where extraordinary things happened on our behalf. How do you think these things happened? They happened through Allah's grace to show us his attitude towards us, to show us his mercy towards us, to show us his kindness towards us, and to show us his love towards us. So we have to return that love, and we have to in turn return that intention. The archetype that was created for man is the Nur, the light. The Nur Muhammad, it's called in Sufism sometimes. And that means that state where light interacts with light, where light communes with light. Allah is the effulgence. And if we are also a light, we can interact with that effulgence. And what creates that light within us? Mercy, compassion, justice, kindness, feeling other people's pain, being an assist in this world, handing out Allah's qualities as opposed to being tight and being involved only with ourselves. Through giving, we receive wisdom. Through giving, we receive truth. Through giving, we receive the knowledge that allows us to move further along the path of reality. And unless we do that, we are going to be held in place, and we are going to stay within the animal qualities and the animal torpor that these qualities bring into man. It's very sad when you see people who are so involved in their worldly enterprise that they are like horses that have blinders on them. And I've met so many people who are like that. They can't speak beyond their expertise in the world because they've spent their whole life learning this expertise. And it gives them a certain kind of satisfaction in the world because it can do things in the world. A man who is very good at raising cattle and using cattle for all different kinds of things is not going to talk to you about vegetarianism. It's beyond his scope. It's beyond his expertise. It's beyond his belief system, because all of a sudden his belief system gets tied into his occupation and his expertise. And that happens to all of us. Our expertise becomes our belief system, and anything that is opposite to that, we have conflict with. Well, we, in a few simple words, need to throw away everything we've learned up to this point. Cast it into the ocean, it's of no use to us. We are moving on. It's like the man in the desert who was hungry and found hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of pearls. They didn't do him any good. So all of the jewels of the world, all of the treasures of the world aren't going to do us any good if we don't come to know reality. Because the next step in our existence is reality. And reality is the eternal, where Allah's power resides. And Allah's power resides within the framework of his qualities and his names. And we need to learn those qualities and names. And we need to make an incredible push to integrate those within our being. We need to become them. We need to become them in a more important way than anything that we love in the world. You see, you always become what it is that you love. And what it is that you love in this world is going to do one of two things. It's either going to kill you or it's going to take you to God. Now, it depends. If you love the world, it's going to kill you. If you love anything in the world, eventually it's going to kill you. If you love God, eventually it'll take you to reality, take you to the truth, take you to the highest levels of wisdom, and uncover for you all of the secrets of the universe. What's more important to us? We make that decision every day when we get up. What's more important to us? May Allah take us on the straight path. May He show us the right way. May He make each of us understand the mercy of His qualities, the compassion of His qualities, the transcendent nature of His qualities, and the truth and reality of His qualities. And may we become that reality. Ameen, ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.